As Australian troops fight in Afghanistan, back home nearly 60,000 Defence Force veterans are in the thick of their own battle. They're recipients of a military superannuation pension, but they get paid on a lower scale than the aged pension. Veterans are furious and say it sends a message to those fighting overseas they won't be looked after when they return. Peter Stokes was once a colonel and led a battalion in the Vietnam War. He has no regrets about the years spent serving his country, but he feels betrayed about his treatment in retirement.
It has created an enormous amount of anger, and I don't think that government is as aware of the anger as they should be.
Mr Stokes is one of 57,000 Australians over 55 years old who gave at least 20 years service to the Defence Force. He contributed to a military superannuation pension, which he now partly relies on to live. Many veterans use it to supplement their main income, which could include service or aged pensions. But unlike other pensions, this military superannuation only rises according to the lowest measuring stick, the Consumer Price Index.
I'm getting by, I mean there's no question about that, but I wouldn't represent the average. You know, the average superannuation pension is only about $20,000 to $22,000 a year. Lindsay Taylor last year said, well, you know, of course, in that case, they can go on welfare. In other words, they rely on the old age pension as well. Well, there's a lot of pride in people who've been in the military, and particularly in the families of people who've been in the military, who don't like the idea that they have to rely on welfare.
Last month, the Senate knocked back a bill that would have lifted the superannuation pension to match indexation of the aged pension. Labor voted against the bill, saying it would cost billions of dollars.
The reasons for the bill's failure were, firstly, the present budget situation and the need to return to a surplus by 2012-13.
The Coalition claims it is affordable at about $100 million per year.
We dispute their figures and we dispute the fact that there aren't savings. I mean, everyone knows that there are savings in the Defence Department.
But the Defence Minister, Stephen Smith, says the Coalition is being opportunistic.
Pretending to military superannuants, there is a magic solution. Recently a bill was rejected in the Senate. What the Liberal Party never told anyone was that if that bill had been passed, it would have seen the taxpayers of Australia fork out billions of dollars. Successive Australian governments have always wanted to ensure that our military superannuants and our veterans are treated in the best possible manner, and that's certainly what this government does.
Thanks, Julie. Your lads are really helping us out.
Not according to Vietnam veteran John Griffiths and his wife Lois.
What's that, 500 of?
580.
Bread and margarine for this month. 26 years, my pension has been going backwards and backwards for quite some time. We'll never recover that, but we accept that as long as we don't slip back any further.
John Griffiths says his superannuation pension isn't all of his income, but it's a crucial part.
I still love you. I think the sad fact of life is now that here we are at an age where we should be turning around helping our children, where in fact it's getting the stage where the children help us. We've just had two granddaughters around last week for a week's holiday with us, and her mother gave us $200 to help out with the costs for the week, so we could take them out. Now that's an indictment. Now I don't want to sound like a whinger. There's military superannuants that weren't officers that are worse off than what I am.
David Catterall injured his back jumping off a tank in the Vietnam War. He's the Victorian representative of totally incapacitated veterans who successfully fought for a rise in their pension 4 years ago.
It was $80 a fortnight extra that we got in that period that we would not be getting now.
He says about 20% of his group also rely on the military superannuation and would dearly love a similar boost.
That pension level does call for, I think, at my age, which is 66 in December, a bit of a life, and we can go out and we can enjoy ourselves and have a beer.
Retired Brigadier Neil Weeks is leading the push for a higher pension from Townsville. He's rallying veterans to campaign for the Coalition in marginal seats across Australia.
The groundswell is absolutely huge. It is enormous, not just the retired members, but from the currently serving members, including I've had emails from those over in Afghanistan. They are concerned that if this is not rectified by this government, then they'll be fighting the same fight that we're fighting now in 20 years' time. The sense of betrayal, anger, frustration and discontent by the veteran community and the ex-service community in general, and the service community, is palpable. It is really quite alarming.
All the veterans the ABC spoke to say they have strong support from serving members in Afghanistan, even though soldiers these days have totally different superannuation.
They think it's terribly unjust. Many of them believe that they'll be left on the heap once they get out of the services as well.
The only time you see a politician these days is at a military funeral when someone gets killed in Afghanistan. It's for a photo opportunity and PR thing, but they don't get off the backsides and have a look at what's happening to the soldiers that are trying to survive.
We are very conscious of our soldiers who return from Afghanistan. It's very important that is part of the Australian ethos, and that is what the government does.
Some who fought for their country say they're examining their final options.
The only other way we can do it is to talk to people and say, don't let your children join the armed forces because you're not looked after from the time you leave.